Раз. Все.
All right. I think I can start. So, Lisa Hundum, you can shake your head if everything is going clear because you're now on the venue in Ульяновsк and I'm here in Moscow. So, can we start, Elizabeth?
Yes, I can. I think we can start, but I can hear the music. Can you please ask the technicians why are we hearing the music on the background? Dear participants who are joining us online, please check if you're having the music. Okay, now it's great. Yeah, so I think we can. When someone is opening the microphone, we can hear the music on the background. Leila, maybe this is. Oh, okay. So, Leila, can we start?
Yes, sure, but I think someone else from the technical team is turning off my voice. So please, could you also ask our colleagues to don't do that? So I'm very happy to meet all of you, and I'm very happy that we can today open a special session devoted to the volunteerism of the 6th Youth Summit of BRICS countries, and I'm very happy to share this moment with you. So let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Leila Badalova. I'm the coordinator of international program World Volunteers of the Association of Volunteer Centers in Russia, and I'm delighted to be here today and to talk with you about the volunteering. So today we have speakers from Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and they will present the best practices in the field of volunteerism in the countries during the pandemic. And I hope this discussion will be also very fruitful. So first of all, I would like to introduce all of the speakers, if you don't mind. So for today, we'll have presentation of Елизавета Hunduma, International Projects Coordinator of Medical Volunteers from Russia. Ms. Ipsita Dhir, National Service Scheme from the representative from the National Service Scheme India. Ms. Izin Wan, the Project Coordinator Assistant, Chinese Youth Volunteers Association from China, Ms. Luciana Alves de Lima Valencia, General Coordinator of Citizenship, National Secretariat of the Youth from Brazil, Ms. Nonticlela Makula, representative from the National Youth Development Agency, the Manager of Intergovernmental Relations and Projects from South Africa, and Ms. Indra Sruti, the Joint Secretary of the National Service Scheme from India. So I'm very happy to meet all of you, and I hope our discussion for today will be very fruitful. So to start our today meeting, I want to emphasize that we would like to talk today about the best practices in the field of volunteering during the pandemic, and also I would like to share with you one of the general idea about the initiative to make a special concept devoted to the development of volunteerism in the field of BRICS countries, and I will be happy to share it with you. So last year, when the host country of the Youth Summit was Brazil, and also BRICS host country was Brazil, it was a Youth Summit devoted also to the development of volunteerism. It was a special session, and during this session, we decided to make a special working group with a representative from all of the countries, of the BRICS countries, and we decided to make a special content that will help us to interact more and develop together with volunteerism globally. And we had this kind of working group, and we worked a lot during 2 months, and I see also the representatives from this working group here. And also we had the result of this work, and we had a huge concept devoted to the general and huge development of volunteerism. And we also had a special plan of action to make its concept not just like a paper, but to make it step-by-step development. And I'm very happy to show you and to present you these projects of these 2 documents. The first one, the concept for the development of volunteerism on the territory of BRICS countries, and also the plan of action for the next year. So I'll try to share my screen. Several moments, please. So I'll kindly ask our organizers to give me an opportunity to share my screen, please.
Дайте, пожалуйста, разрешение на трансляцию экрана.
So, colleagues, yes, I have it. So thank you very much. So first of all, I think you can see the presentation in general. We talked a lot about the volunteering and development of volunteerism in our country. So something went wrong and I also loses my opportunities. So I'll try to present you without a presentation, so in briefly words. So the main goal is of this concept is to coordinate and to strengthen our cooperation based on development of volunteerism in our countries. And we try to make several and to find several areas to make
Leila?
it more complex.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but we cannot see the presentation.
Yes, fortunately I have no opportunities to share my screen. I don't know why, but that's why I try to make this presentation without to present this concept without presentation. I'm very sorry for that, but also I'll try to do my best and to make it more complex. So first of all, the main goal of this idea is to promote the cooperation between the BRICS countries in the development of volunteer movement, to expand the practice of informational, methodological, and expert cooperation at the level of organization and public associations. So we had a lot of ways to interact on this base, and we got several areas of the cooperation. There are, first of all, the change of experience in the field of the best exchanging of the best practices and the best initiatives to develop the volunteerism. It also the improvement that counter mechanism of assessing the scale of participation of volunteers on national and international level. It's a presentation and development of exchange gained the result of the implementation of the volunteer projects and major volunteer international events. And there are many ways to speak and to discuss and to develop volunteerism together. And for today, I also would like to ask you, our dear speakers, not only present the best practices from your countries, but also to give ideas and to give maybe several events to include in the general plan of action and to include in the concept to this concept, because at the end of this event, tomorrow we will share these documents, and I also think we can send it via email for you to be better prepared, so you can reply with your ideas to your email. So we would like to present the general concept for the development of volunteerism and the plan of action for our colleagues from ministries, and we will do that. So that's why I kindly ask you to give your ideas, to share your ideas, to share your opportunities, and to share your thoughts. That's why that is all. I think that is what that I wanted to say. And in this field, I would like to give a speech to you and give a floor to you, because what is more important is to share your ideas on this level, and to speak a lot about your practices, about your ways to develop volunteerism. So, and the first person I would like to give the floor is Yelizaveta Tasem from Volunteers, my colleague from Russia. So, Yelizaveta, could you please start?
Leila, thank you very much for the floor. So I kindly ask you to open my presentation. Включите, пожалуйста, презентацию. Yes, thank you. Dear colleagues, thank you very much for joining us. My name is Elizabeth. I am International Projects Coordinator of All Russian Public Movement of Medical Volunteers. And today I will be sharing with you of our Russian experience on how to fight against the spread of the coronavirus infection with the volunteerism. So I will be specifically talking about the national campaign We Are Together. Next slide, please. So the national campaign We Are Together was launched in the shortest possible time because the coronavirus infection is a huge challenge for all of us. And what we did is we launched this campaign to help people. And as you see here on the slides, in total, more than 4 million people received help and more than 4 million requests were made by those who are in need. And what we did is we organized this campaign in the whole Russia. We opened the headquarters in 85 regions of Russia. The headquarters was the volunteers who were helping people. So we had several areas of activities under this campaign. The next slide. Yes, so as you see here on the slide, the 3 areas of this campaign are the purchase and delivery of the essential goods. Our volunteers were assisting in buying the groceries for those who are self-isolated. As you understand, there were elderly people and those who were at risk to have the coronavirus infection. So it was dangerous for them to go outside and buy some essential goods or medicine which they need. So what we did is we provide the assistance in buying these groceries, and our volunteers, anyone could become the volunteer in this area, and those volunteers were helping people. So the next one was providing help to medical organization. Under this area, the volunteers who are studying medicine or who already received the medical education were providing assistance for the medical staff. Because of the rapid increase of the number of the patients in the hospitals, it was very needed, and our volunteers, they were providing help in dressing, patient logistics, paperwork, temperature measurement, and else. Also, the auto-volunteerism is a very popular area under this campaign. The auto volunteers, they were helping a lot in assisting with the transportation of the medical staff to the hospitals, and at the same time to help the volunteers to deliver those goods. The requirements for the volunteers under this area were to have a driving license. The next slide. Yeah, so online help. As you understand, a lot of elderly people and also other people were feeling lonely during the self-isolation. So what we did is we organized the leisure for them. We organized some concerts, we organized several activities, online activities for those who were feeling lonely so they can talk to someone and understand that they are not alone. Also, we made another area such as legal support. We provide free legal advice and assistance to those who are in need, who have problems and difficulties related to the coronavirus. The legal support is provided online by the website or by the chatbot. And also we provide the psychological assistance. As you understand, during the self-isolation, a lot of people were having troubles and had a need in psychological assistance. So what we did is we organized the hotline for those who were calling on that hotline, and the psychologist volunteers were helping them. At the same time, we have a chatbot in Viber, Telegram, VKontact. Through those chatbots, people are also receiving help. The requirements for this area is to have the education in psychology. Nowadays, more than 7,000 psychologists are helping people, and they already helped more than 190,000 people all over Russia. The next one. Yeah, so as we all understand, we have several specifics for organizing the volunteering in the situation of the coronavirus infection. We need to strictly follow the rules of sanitary and hygienic instructions. Also, we have the restrictions of the mass mass events, and we need to minimize the contact with the elderly people. So as you understand, of course, it is very difficult to create and organize our work under these conditions. And what we recommend is, and what we did is, that we developed the online formats. So we concentrated on those online formats. At the same time, we followed strictly the rules of sanitary and hygienic instructions, and we have the clear communication with the federal center and at the same time with the regional headquarters. So we always communicate with them, and we understand what exactly is happening in the regional headquarters and how to coordinate them. So let me tell you about the mechanism of the All Russian campaign, We Are Together. We have a hotline. On this hotline, people are calling who are in need. And then the person, the volunteer, he will be making the request. The request will be proceed, and after that, it will be forward to the headquarter, the regional headquarter. The volunteer will receive the request, will call the beneficiary and ask if everything is okay, to make sure that the request is correct. If every request is correct, the volunteer is providing aid. Second one. Yeah, so of course we understand that doctors, medical staff are the one who also need to have help too, because of the rapid increase of the number of the patients is very huge, and the doctors are also facing the stress, self-burnouts and else. So because of this, they are also the ones who need help. And what we did is we provide psychological help for the medical workers. We provide free delivery of the groceries, of the medicines for medical workers and also for their relatives. As I mentioned earlier, we have auto volunteers who provide free transportation for the medical staff. At the same time, free food in the medical facilities, and of course, temporary housing for those who need this. So it's necessary to point out the volunteer training, to draw our attention on the volunteer training during the coronavirus infection. Our volunteer training consists 4 steps. The first one is a distance training program. The volunteer, he is registered. The volunteer who wants to participate in the All Russian campaign We Are Together, he needs to register on the We Are Together website. Then he will have a distance training program on which he will be informed how to communicate with the elderly people, how to volunteer during the coronavirus pandemic. He will receive all this needed information. Then he will pass the face-to-face training and have the face-to-face instructions about how to communicate and how to work during the pandemic. After that, he will receive the accreditation and he will have the access to work. I would like to draw your attention that before the working day starts, we have the checking process. All volunteers are having the measure of the temperature, they receive the personal equipment and the request. So after that, they provide aid. The next one. Yeah, so as I said, we pay special attention, and it's very necessary to pay special attention to the safety measures, because we have some specific algorithm on how exactly our volunteers are working. We have a specific algorithm on how exactly they provide aid to those who have the coronavirus infection. As you understand, it will be very dangerous for them. They are putting their lives in risk. So because of this, we have this algorithm. The person who has the coronavirus infection, he's informing the hotline about it. After that, the volunteers will see that the request is made from the person who has the coronavirus infection. So what they do is they don't communicate with him at all. I mean, they will call him, they will make sure that the request is correct, then they will go, they will assist in buying the products, they will bring the needed products to his home, and then they will put it beside the doors, and then they leave. So after that, the person, the beneficiary, will just transfer the money for the groceries to them by the internet. So that's how it is, and that gives us the opportunity for them not to communicate with the applicant and not to put their lives in risk. At the same time, we have a special recommendations on the sanitary and hygienic instructions. And as I mentioned, we provide the volunteers with all needed protective equipment. They're also measuring the temperatures. And what I need to say is also the fact that we have this special work schedule. Every volunteer group is working for 1 week and then they have 2 weeks off. So the other group is working during this 2 week off. This is made so that we will have this opportunity if anyone by any chance has the coronavirus infection. He won't be spreading this coronavirus infection. The chance of this spreading will be lower because he will be self-isolated for the 2 weeks. Next slide. Yes, so here on this slide, you can see the information of what we achieved. So, of course, during the pandemic, we were having the campaigns such as You Are Dear to Us. We gave the gifts for the gift packages for the veterans of the Second World War. And at the same time, we provided free groceries, the free aid for those who are in need. We provided multiple essential protective equipments. And of course, we provided help for the doctors. The next one. Yes, and I also wanted to share with you some interesting cases. Those cases are actually from the second wave, so you can understand how exactly our volunteers are working. So as you see here from the pictures, I would like to draw your attention that we have a lot of auto volunteers who are continuing to help in the headquarters with delivering food and medical and helping the medical workers. In Yamal region, for example, volunteers are helping with the snowmobiles. And also, I would like to draw your attention that, of course, volunteers, they are not only fulfilling their duties, but at the same time, they are trying to make the beneficiary happy and try to understand what exactly is happening with the person. So, for example, on the second case, you can see that in the Volgograd region, the volunteers, they accidentally discovered that the applicant, she is having a birthday on the day when she made the application. So because of this, they came to her not only with the products that she was requesting, but also with the gifts to make her happy on her birthday. Yes, so of course, during all this period of time, volunteers put a lot of effort in fighting the spread of the coronavirus, and the population is also seeing this effort of the volunteers. So in Russia, we're also celebrating the role of volunteers. And for example, in Khakassia region, they made a graffiti of a medical volunteer to memorize the role of the volunteers during the coronavirus pandemic under the campaign We Are Together. And as you see here, this graffiti was made by the real person, Olga. She is just a second-year student in Khakassia State University. And she was volunteering during the first wave of a pandemic, and she's still volunteering and doing her best. Okay, the next one. Yeah, so this is it. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope I shared all my experience and you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Elizabeth, thank you very much for your presentation, for describing that We Are Together campaign, for the contribution of Russia in the fight against the spread of the pandemic. Thank you very much. And I'm also asking our colleagues to interact with Elizabeth more, to exchange opinion and to exchange experience. I think colleagues will be very happy to do that. Talking about what Elizabeth previously said, I want to emphasize and want to know that after this our session, we will have a special resolution of our section, so you can make several ideas and things and events to be included in this resolution. So Elizabeth, if you could please, if you want to share with you several ideas how can we improve our interaction based on volunteering between BRICS countries, you also can share with us based on your experience of medical volunteers.
I'm sorry, Leila, could you please repeat your question?
Yes,
Leila?
I said previously that we will have a special resolution of our session, and if you want to make a special edition, several ideas you can make.
Okay, so you want me to add the special ideas to the resolutions? I'm sorry, the connection is
Yes.
not as good. Yes, right?
If you want to run a special initiative.
Okay, I think I understood Leila. You can correct me if I didn't understood her well. Yeah, so I understood she wants to talk for me to talk about the initiatives that we have, and I would like to draw your attention about the necessity of the medical volunteering and the development of the medical volunteering in the BRICS countries. So because of this, we would really love if we can develop our cooperation under the medical volunteering. And to do that, it will be very great if we can organize those cooperation and, for example, organize meet events in the format of a day of unified actions. We have this experience with our country centers. And what I mean is that, for example, we organized the campaign Protecting Hearts every year here in Russia, and now this is an international campaign. We share our experience with our colleagues from our country centers, such as Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Armenia, and Tajikistan. And it will be amazing if we can also cooperate in this area and organize such campaigns, share our experience for the medical volunteering development with the BRICS countries. At the same time, I can say that it's very, very important to develop the medical volunteerism through the cooperation and organizing some online events, such as trainings and etc. So those are my main initiatives. I think we can discuss more during our session.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. So, and now I think we can ask our colleagues, Ms. seated here from National Service Scheme India, to present the experience of our country. So, Ms. seated here, please, you're welcome.
Yeah, hi. So I have one more team member, Ms. Shruti, with whom I'll be presenting. So can I request the team to please bring forward the presentation?
Можете презентацию включить, пожалуйста?
A very good evening to one and all gathered here. I, Shruti S., NSS Joint Secretary of PSGR Krishnamar College for Women, Tamil Nadu, India. It's my great pleasure to be a part of the 6th BRIC Youth Summit 2020. And I want to thank all the respected dignitaries for giving us this opportunity to share our experience and thoughts. Volunteerism, the art of service. Do things for people, not because of who they are and what they do in return, but because of who you are. And volunteerism is a great way of knowing one's own self-worth. It's a selfless act where we provide our time and skill for the beneficial of other people without expecting any financial return. It's a basic tool of humanity which every human should practice in our day-to-day life. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So next slide. Sorry for the inconvenience. So next is the history of Indian volunteerism. The basis of it started from the Vedic period of time, which is known as the start of the Indian civilization, where the practice of volunteerism is known as dana, which is giving and sharing. So the higher prestige people that prevailed in the society, like the kings and queens, were only able to do this volunteering practice. Right now, during the 21st century, the Indian government has given us so many laws, so many opportunities to volunteer without any laws and regulations. So first of all, I want to thank Indian government for giving us this opportunity. And one second. And also, the origin of the Indian volunteerism started from a very long period of time, and its roots is from its rooted tradition and culture. The interchangeable culture practice that happened in the previous years has led to the development of the volunteerism in India. So the next slide, please. Why volunteerism is important. So why volunteerism is important, everyone asks this question. It's nothing but it's not only a kindness act, but also we show ourselves to the world that what humans can do if they unite together. One person can do only few things, but as together we can achieve so many goals. So volunteerism is a great way of doing that. And one second. And I believe that everyone should give back to the society that has done so many things to us. So volunteerism is a great way in order to prove, a gratitude to the society, which has given us so many things, like, the facilities, the freedom, everything, the opportunities that we get today is all thanks to the government of India and to every other people. And volunteerism is a great way of doing it and helping the other people, because while we live, it's not just we're living for ourselves, we have to live for other people too. That's what the great people always say. Life is not what you lead for yourself, but you lead for others too. And volunteerism is a great way of proving it. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, here are a few points that benefits the volunteerism. I would like to share my life experience that I have gained out of this being an NSS volunteer. Last year, we went on a special camp. Our college has conducted a special camp where we adopted 4 villages in Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. And we went to those 4 villages and we educated people about various activities. We created breast cancer awareness rally for covering 4 villages. We conducted a medical camp and we people benefited out of it. And we taught them how to maintain a very clean environment in order to have a good hygiene. And we also taught them about the rainwater harvesting, which is very important for the future generations. We educated so many things because of the volunteerism, and it improves everyone's self-esteem. The person that I am right now is not the person that I was 2 years before. And this is all because of, I came out of the shell. I became socialized. I helped people. And this is all because of being an NSS volunteer. It is possible. And this is all possible only because of being an NSS volunteer. And I'm grateful for being that. And it also improved my college experience too. I have gained so many friends, I've entered into a new family, which has taught me so many things. That life is so precious that you cannot even think about wasting even a minute. Just think how important life is all about, and we have to go for it. And volunteerism is just the way of teaching us how life could be. Next slide, please. So these are the photos that we took before pandemic, where we went on the field, we worked on the place. The first thing is, as I said, the adopted village. We went there, we visited the school, we cleaned everything, we provided school kits for the children, and we educated them. Next, the slum adoption project, where we went to the slums in New Delhi and we visited them. We gave the basic necessities for them. The blood donation camp and the healthcare camp happens every 6 months all around the India, and people are benefiting out of it. The volunteers, the young volunteers, are doing all all these programs. Next, on-field workshops where the underprivileged people, where in the slum areas or not so educated people, we go on field and we educate them about the technologies, how it's improvising every day and how you can benefit out of it. Next is the empowerment session, where women empowerment has been done by our college, where we went on a rally. We created awareness about how women empowerment is very important. We cannot just degrade women just because they are, they are weak or something. Every woman has a right to speak, and every woman has a right to voice out. So we went for an empowerment campaign, and we proved to the people that women can do anything if they think they can. Next, I would like to give to Ms. Ipsita to carry on the speech. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shruti. So, greetings to all the respected dignitaries present here. I am Ipsita Deep, Secretary of NSS, Sri Ram College of Commerce, University of Delhi, India. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank honorable dignitaries, participants, program officers, and especially the Government of India to let us share our personal experiences and views on this highly esteemed platform. In continuation of what my team member, Ms. Shruti, was presenting, I would be continuing with the different aspects of volunteerism in India. So I would request the team to kindly move to the next slide of the presentation. A slide before that. Yeah, thank you. So, given the many challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic, a show of solidarity exhibited through volunteering is heartening, of which youth comes out to be the torchbearers. All throughout the history, youth have been the harbingers of change, right from winning independence for the nations to creating new technologies, to new forms of arts, music, and culture. In India's development as well, youth remains the highest stakeholder. Taking this into the consideration, the Government of India came up with the National Youth Policy in the year 2014 to empower the youth of the country to achieve their full potential, and through them, India to find its rightful place in the community of nations. Out of the several objectives of the National Youth Policy, promoting social values and spirit of community service among the youth and adopting inclusive policies lays down the basis of several youth development organizations which have been actively participating in volunteerism. Next slide, please. Yeah. So, with the motive of selfless seva or the selfless service, there are many youth-based programs in India, some of them working directly under the Government of India and some independently with the sole motive to develop a sense of moral responsibility to participate in the community service and development activities, especially focusing on the backward regions and less fortunate citizens than the volunteers. With the motto of National Service Scheme as not me but you, National Service Scheme or NSS aims to provide hands-on experience to young students in delivering community service, emerging out as one of the biggest youth-run programs not only in India but throughout the world. NSS volunteers work tirelessly towards disseminating information about the latest developments in agriculture, sanitation, nutrition, personal hygiene, schemes for skill development, and especially income parity. Rashtriya Yuva Sashaktikarana Karyakram, which is the merger of various programs like Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan, having many volunteers under them, aims to develop the personality and leadership qualities of the youth and to engage them in nation-building process. Third, Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development aims to work for youth training, youth work, youth development in the country for rural, urban, as well as tribal youth. Next slide, please. So, volunteering and service are more important during a crisis than ever. The volunteers of India decided to respond to this pandemic in terms of digital activity and coming up with different solutions to make the life of the people possible during the lockdowns. The volunteers all around India actively engaged in spreading the government guidelines and accurate information to the masses with a determined effort and the use of social networking sites using their existing base on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp, which has a very a big user base in India. Also, we tried to broaden the horizon and create awareness to reach the deeper sections of the society using the multilingual formats. Volunteers all around India have opened a new window of opportunity for themselves. Slide change, please. So the volunteers played a vital role in the universal volunteer work in their respective communities, undertaking the responsibilities of delivering essentials, whether it be the food or the sanitation kits, to daily laborers, street vendors, slum dwellers, rickshaw pullers, ensuring that they are provided with the right sanitation, correct information, and providing them with appropriate training on how to keep surroundings clean. Slide change, please. So one of the major initiatives, which was based completely on creativity and innovation, volunteers all across India voluntarily pledged to help the needy by making masks in mass production. So curating videos on how to make a mask at home using clothes, coordinating the efforts, taking the help from the local administration and the police to handling its distribution to the people in need, making it almost possible for everyone to make masks at home. Next slide, please. So, playing the role of a mentor, the volunteers have left no stone unturned to provide guidance and training to the people about how to keep their hands clean and surroundings sanitized, either through online meetings or on the field visits, ensuring that social distancing is followed throughout. At the same time, not only are they on the front lines as health workers, but also helping the concerned authorities in detecting the cases earlier as possible. It is must to say that youth voices play an integral role in being the part of the solutions for a healthier and safer world. And when they volunteer, it is the best thing. Slide change, please. So we have put in our best efforts to speak about the effective and equitable care for most of the vulnerable sections, like the people of old age or people having low immunity and high risk of contacting COVID-19. Even tasks like blood donation drives were possible because of quick actions of the volunteers during this pandemic time. Special care have also been taken to disseminate information on the mental well-being of all, acknowledging the psychological impact of the pandemic. The volunteers have come up to speak about it, share their experiences, and giving an online platform for the rest of the society to share their stories and raise awareness towards it. Slide change. Yes, with this, I would reiterate the recommendations of the earlier BRICS Youth Summit, which still holds true in this era of post-pandemic, that the facilitation of cross-learning and the use of online platforms to recognize the good work we all are doing at our levels. So this should still continue. And since I am also an active volunteer of the National Service Scheme, being active for more than 2 years consecutively, working in the pre-pandemic era and the post-pandemic era itself. So what I could conclude from it is that it is the positive aspects of this pandemic that has actually led to more awareness, empathy, and solidarity, instilling positive initiatives among youth to find alternative means in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And surely when we all come together, the youth of the BRICS taking the forefront, this pandemic and its effect can be easily overcome. So closing my part, I would like to reiterate what Mahatma Gandhi, our father of nations, said. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And we all agree with that, with a heart of service. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to let me speak here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues from India. Very colorful presentation. You had a lot of initiatives in your country, and it's quite interesting that you cover different groups of the society to help them by the way they really need that. And also, I really like your idea about that pandemic unite and cooperate a lot. That we unite with huge thread, and that's why we can interact a lot and we can share our ideas and we can be together. It is a very important point, and thank you very much for this huge idea. And also talking about your initiatives, talking about your point of view, what do you think will be a very good initiative to run and to strengthen our cooperation based on volunteering in the territory of BRICS countries? So you had a good opportunity to make an initiative, to make an idea, and we can put it on our resolution of our session. So maybe some ideas, colleagues, please.
Yes, ma'am. Like
Unfortunately, I can't hear you, colleague from India.
say that we would like to create a basic integrated platform for hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please try again. So
Yes.
there were some difficulties with connection.
Yes, ma'am. So our idea is to create a basic integrated platform for all the volunteers, NSS volunteers, and around all the youth volunteers to of the BRICS member countries to share their. We'll have a cross communication of what your country is doing, what our country is doing. So we'll be united together in doing for the wellness of the people. So we can even discuss about the topics like the dealing with social distancing, handling mental issues, illness. All of these things can be discussed, because if our country has one opinion, the other country will have different opinions. So we like to educate ourselves with all these opinions, and we'd like to put it in the process so that some people will be benefited out of it. So we would like to make it as an integrated platform for every volunteers in the BRICS member country. That is one of our suggestion. And so that it will not only benefit one particular people of country, it also benefit other BRICS member countries also.
Thank you very much, colleagues. I think we will make a small document with all your initiative, and we will send it to you via email, so you can make special corrections, more ideas, several suggestions. So I think it will be very useful ideas. So we have tomorrow we have to make our resolution in general. So I think we'll be very quick in our communication, and I also asking you to kindly make your ideas and to present your ideas so we can interact more. Thank you very much, colleagues from India. Thank you, and thank you. And I think now we
Thank
can
you very much.
Thank you. Now we can go to our colleagues from China, and we'll be glad to give the floor to our colleagues, Miss Yijin Wang, the project coordinator, Sisters of Chinese Young Volunteers Association. So, please.
Thank you, Layla. Could you hear me properly? All right. So I kindly ask the committee to show my presentation. Sorry, that's for the South Africa.
Did you send us your presentation?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay. Could you show your screen?
All right, so I'm gonna share my screen with you guys.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Дайте доступ в экран,
please.
пожалуйста. Just a second, please.
All right.
Press share your screen, please.
Можете ей дать доступ к экрану, чтобы она показала свою презентацию просто?
You already have the right to share your screen. Can you please check?
Yes, okay, I'm gonna check now. Are you able to see my screen now?
Not yet?
All right.
Yes, we are.
Now? All right, good. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, friends from Russian Federation, the Federative Republic of Brazil, the Republic of India, and the Republic of South Africa. Greetings from China. So my name is Wang Jing, and I'm currently a Chinese volunteer. So as a member of the Chinese Young Volunteers Association, I partly volunteered during the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, as the representative of tens of millions of Chinese youth volunteers, I wish to begin by thanking the Russian government for your thoughtful organization of this BRICS Youth Summit. So my sharing today will basically have two parts. First, I will recap the lessons we have learned during the COVID-19 pandemic in the field of volunteering. Second, I will shed some light on how to integrate volunteering with infection prevention of the COVID-19 pandemic. After the outbreak, youth volunteers in China played a leading professional role. Well, in response to the pandemic's suddenness and uncertainty, they actively strengthened communication with different stakeholders to collect necessary information on infection prevention. So on the one hand, they established a mechanism with the National Health Commission, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, relevant volunteer service experts and legal experts for some information and reference on the prevention on policies and regulations. So on the other hand, through the internet and phone calls, we have maintained daily communications with universities, voluntary service organizations, and individual youth volunteers. Through these communication schemes, we could equip ourselves with the status quo during the pandemic era to guide volunteers based on their actual needs. So the Chinese Young Volunteers Association issued the guidelines for youth volunteer organizations and volunteers to carry out emergency volunteer services for infection prevention and control of the pandemic on January the 26th. So the guideline underscored the basic principles for emergency volunteer services, which mobilize youth volunteers and encourage them to participate in infection prevention and the control of the pandemic in a scientific and orderly manner. Well, as of the March the 5th, a total of 1,704,000 volunteers were in the emergency volunteer pools, and 1.371 million volunteers were on duty. While Chinese youth volunteers played an active role in professional medical care, amenity services, health examination, order maintenance, psychological counseling, and social stability. So we actually participated in the local joint infection prevention and the control of the pandemic. Youth volunteer organizations at all levels first report to the local infection prevention headquarters. Their main task is to lead youth volunteers to participate in the joint prevention and control and mass prevention and management. Well, since March, with the domestic outbreaks gradual control, to cope with the increasing number of imported cases, the Chinese Young Volunteers Association has actively organized youth volunteers at entry airports, ports, and stations. They assisted staff in carrying out voluntary services, such as immigration screening and infection prevention knowledge promotion. Moreover, we also carried out medical support and voluntary medical care services. The Chinese Young Volunteers Association organized volunteers to carry out voluntary services to help doctors and hospital staff. On February the 12th, the Chinese Young Volunteers Association launched the special volunteer service for the dependents of the frontline medical workers. Volunteers help the dependents, especially those whose parents were infected or dead during the pandemic, with procurement, psychological counseling, and schoolwork. During this fight against the pandemic, the number of volunteers participating in this service reached 210,000. More. Another thing is that we carried out voluntary services for psychological assistance. On January 28th, the Chinese Youth Volunteers Association and professional psychological organizations jointly issued a recruitment post to mobilize the National Mental Health Service workers. The recruitment relied on the Beijing Volunteer Service Federation's Volunteer Cloud app. A total of 1,089 psychological service volunteers were on board, and the service time surpassed 2,417.9 hours. We carried out voluntary services to assist in work and school resumption. During the outbreak, medical supplies such as masks, protective clothing were in short supply. CYVA organized youth volunteers to walk to the factory production workshops to help companies produce anti-epidemic materials and to ease the medical supplies shortage. Moreover, we also did some promotion work. CYVA and 11 universities of arts jointly collected nearly 10,000 artworks from all over the country and publicly published them online for sharing by all social sectors. Various places have created many cultural and artistic work during this period, such as songs, microvideos, cartoons, and volunteer stories. During this pandemic, Chinese youth volunteers actively participated in voluntary services for infection prevention and control, setting historical new records in terms of the numbers of participants and the service hours. In terms of the suggestions and the active role of voluntary service, so we have the following 3 suggestions. First, the community has a considerable number and variety of voluntary service needs, and meanwhile, it boasts the most extensive volunteer resources. It is necessary to establish a community-based emergency volunteer service mechanism for infection prevention and control. The second thing is to strengthen the publicity of youth volunteer services by telling people that youth volunteers are the leading force involved in the infection prevention and control of the pandemic. We recognize youth volunteers' efforts and their value. The third thing is to review the lessons we have learned during the pandemic and to encourage people to share their knowledge and experience on volunteering. We should host events just like the workshop on today. Through the establishment of the Youth Volunteer Council of the BRICS countries, we believe our volunteerism capacity will be enhanced in the near future. Mr. Olivier Adam, the then executive coordinator of the United Nations Volunteers, issued a public statement in honor of Chinese volunteers on February 13, 2020, addressing nearly 500,000 young volunteers and volunteering organizations who have devoted themselves to the fight against the novel coronavirus pneumonia. He said, "The tireless action of the numerous volunteer organizations and tens of thousands of volunteers, especially China's 500,000 youth volunteers, was an outstanding demonstration in the spirit of volunteerism, and that unity stood with the people of the China." So, I take this opportunity to propose that in the post-COVID-19 world, through the joint efforts of the youth volunteers from the BRICS countries, we will play an active and constructive role in volunteerism to build a community with shared future for mankind. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and I will also say thank you very much for your personal contribution in the fighting against the spread of the coronavirus as a volunteer. Thank you very much. So we collaborated a lot with our colleagues from China to make the concept for the development of volunteerism, and we got a lot of suggestions for the concept and the plan of action. So I also want to thank you to be so active and to making a huge contribution to developing our cooperation on the territory of BRICS countries. So maybe you want to add several initiatives. I think your presentation was full of initiatives and ideas to cooperate on, but maybe you have also something to add.
Well, thank you, Leila, for your comments. And we think most of our words have been included in the concept and the regulations. And I guess we can move on to the later discussion part for our further initiatives discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I absolutely support your idea, and I think we will interact a lot developing Russian-China relations and developing relations here between the BRICS countries. So I think it will be a huge work for us next year. Thank you. So now I think we can go to our next speaker, and I'm happy to introduce our speaker from Brazil, so Luciana Alves de Lima Valença, the General Coordinator of Citizenships and National Secretariat of Youth. So, can you hear us? All right, I think we will wait for more stable internet connection of our colleagues from Brazil. And now I would like to give a speech, give the floor to our colleagues from the South Africa, and then we will return to our colleague from Brazil. So I would like to introduce our colleague from South Africa. It is Nonsikelo Makaula. It is a National Youth Development Agency representative from the National Youth Development Agency and the manager of intergovernmental relations and projects. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon to everyone joining this. It's such a pleasure, and we appreciate the opportunity given to South Africa to give an input both on experiences and also on the context of how we do volunteer service in the country. My presentation will be in three folds. First, I would give just the context of the relation between social cohesion and volunteerism in South Africa. I would also, under the umbrella called the National Youth Service, which is how we are implementing the service of volunteerism in South Africa, I would explain that context a bit so that you have an understanding of the activities that we have been implementing during the COVID, and also just a few challenges, and then maybe go through to the just the plan of action that was adopted in the BRICS Council. The next slide, please. So in South Africa, we believe that there is a close correlation between social cohesion and volunteerism. We believe that to foster social cohesion and nation building, the efforts are on creating unity of purpose to overcome the obstacles of preventing prosperity and equity. We believe that community members and citizens, as active participants, work together in pursuit of shared goals designed and agreed upon to improve the living conditions for all. We believe that the participation of young people in their communities shows the extent to which they are empowered, engaged, and have a voice in the development of their communities in society. We believe that young people should be encouraged to identify long-term and effective ways of reconstructing their respective society by developing their abilities of young people through service and learning. In South Africa, as I explained, we conceptualize the National Youth Service Program implemented in partnership with civil society across all government sectors. Let me explain a bit this concept in just a minute. We believe this is a tool to mobilize. We use the National Youth Service as a tool to mobilize young people to serve. We use it as a transition for young people from a worse off situation to a better off situation. We implement it in three folds: service, skills, exit opportunities. We believe that when a young people serve in their communities, they must in turn return acquire a skill. When they acquire a skill, then they have an exit opportunity to be able to gain economic freedom or access resources. We believe that to a certain extent, this is also a bridge where formal education might have failed. because in South Africa, we have young people, a high percentage of young people that are out of school, that have not had access to education, or that have dropped out in education. So there are a number of young people who have participated in the National Youth Service Program. Earlier in the year, the president announced what is called the Presidential Youth Service Program. This program in South Africa is scoped such that we have a database of all young people that participate in volunteerism across the country in all departments. What we do is that we put them in a database so that we can easily access them whenever there's a challenge or whenever there's a disaster. Just like now, through this pandemic, whenever there is a need for young people to participate, we simply go into those different databases. The NYDA is a database as well, where young people are drawn, invited to participate. Now, in terms of the experiences, in 26 March, South Africa went to a total shutdown, where there was no movement, obviously because of the pandemic. There was a lack of, people could not access necessary necessities. They could not have access to food. Therefore, through the Department of Social Development, food parcels had to be distributed. Volunteers came to party, where young people and citizens came in, participated to distribute food parcels across the country through the Department of Social Development. Through the Department of Health, the minister called out that young people or people in the medical sector should come in and assist, volunteer their time and service to hospitals, since hospitals were being filled by people who of course were affected by the pandemic. With beds, there were shortages of beds, and there were floods of people coming in needing assistance. So that required a lot of people to come in and assist. Then the volunteers assisted in that regard through the Department of Health, through social development. Of course, I mentioned that it was the food parcels. Of course, we also had people in communities doing tests. That, I must say, assisted a lot in our country, because we had a lot of testing stations in communities that are predominantly poor, that do not have easily access to clinics and health facilities. Volunteers were sent out to the various communities to assist with testing. Of course, I must mention that the challenges mentioned in the concept of development of cooperation amongst the BRICS countries are applicable to South Africa. We also have the challenge that we faced right now in the pandemic is that there was a lack or inaccessibility of readily available databases where youth can participate. So you would find that young people in rural areas would have challenges in terms of tapping into the databases, because information would not have been accessible to them because of no technology or access to internet. That was a serious challenge. High levels of inequality in communities, which compels implementers of volunteerism to provide stipends for volunteers. So if you understand the concept or how we implement volunteerism in South Africa, is that we compensate our volunteers at most. Why? Because there is high levels of poverty in our communities. Those young people are expected to come in and volunteer, whereas there is no money, for food, supplies, and all of that at home. So we compensate them with just transport money, and also for them to be able to buy food back home. So we do provide stipends. The high prevalence of gender-based violence during the lockdown was one of the issues that South Africa faced during the pandemic, that as we were in lockdown, there were high rates of women being killed, children being abused, raped, and so forth. Hence, the president of the country declared that as a second pandemic in South Africa. So that was another challenge that we faced in South Africa. Volunteers then struggled to come forth willy-nilly. So we had to tap into, like I mentioned before, to the databases of young people that had previously volunteered into our programs. Hence, then, because of all these challenges, South Africa is moving more towards a uniformed approach to volunteerism through the NYS program. You see, what the president announced early this year, we feel that it's going to assist us as a country to in us having a database. Each and every young person that has participated as a volunteer during this pandemic or even post the pandemic would acquire a presidential certificate. What this does is that it gives that young person pride to say that I have volunteered, I've communicated, I've participated in my community and have done something towards the better of my community. That also gives the young person an opportunity or an upper hand when it comes to accessing opportunity to employment, because they become as first options to employers, to generally how people perceive them in their communities as people who contribute positively in their communities. So that presidential award signed by the president, we feel it, in that database, we feel it will assist our cause. Of course, moving to the next slide. The plan of action that was done this year in 2020 by the BRICS Council, the Volunteer BRICS Council, we have adopted that there should be exchange of ideas to make exchange programs beneficial for all. We also feel that the research paper on volunteering within BRICS is quite important and it must happen. And the young women in volunteering must be at the forefront. As I've mentioned, that in South Africa, we had a challenge of gender-based violence. Currently, it's the second pandemic that we're dealing with. So students in volunteering as well, and young women in volunteering in particular, is something that we are emphasizing on. We are in full support of the forms of cooperation. We are in support of the Volunteer Council of Leaders of Volunteer Organization designed to ensure coordination of the interaction and addressing issues in the field of development. We in essence, in South Africa, we support the issue of exchange programs. Just to wrap up, we support the issue of young women in volunteerism, and we support the students in volunteerism. Our submission today is that our model of having a database as a country where all volunteers are registered in issues of disasters, pandemics such as this, where we tap into, where we know that there are young people who are readily available to volunteer, we feel that is the way to go as a country. I think I will pause from there, and thank you so much for the opportunity. That is the presentation and submission from South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and especially about your presentation how volunteerism interact with the government, because it's a strange collaboration. And also thank you very much for your ideas about the specific things of your country, about the women question, about many others questions. So I absolutely sure that to make a strong collaboration between our countries, we have to be more flexible based on the needs, based on the specificities of each country. And thank you very much that you express the challenges of your country, so we can interact a lot and we can share this experience based on your huge experience on the platform, on the system of how you support volunteers. So thank you very much, and also thank you for your plan of action, for your ideas. I enjoyed a lot communicating and working with you during 2 months that we have a working group. So thank you very much. So, and now I think we can go to the next our speaker representative from Brazil. So I'm not sure that Luciana is with us. So.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, hello. I'm very nice to hear you. So I think it was some internet connection difficulties. So yes. So let me introduce him. So the last but not the least speaker is Luciana Alves de Lima Valença, the General Coordinator of Citizenship National Secretariat of Youth from Brazil. So the floor is yours, please.
It's a great pleasure to present our experience and thoughts. Greeting to all participants and delegates from BRICS Youth Summit. The National Day of Volunteer Work was set 35 years ago in Brazil, but in this government, for the first time, the topic has received due attention by means of creation of the Executive Secretariat that represents the National Volunteer Incentive Program known as Pátria Voluntária, Voluntary Fatherland. The program gained greater power by joining the civil office of the presidency and by having the First Lady as chair of its council. Volunteer work means talking about values such as solidarity, citizenship, collective work, patriotism, and love for others. To find solution is a matter of effort. Volunteering also promotes a look at others and not only at yourselves, promotes looking at the different realities, promotes the ask of serving and not just being served, of the nation, a little of yourself for the benefits of others. The development of empathy and resilience are some of the skills that the practice of volunteering favors. The pandemic revealed the resilience of many Brazilian volunteers and what they can perform. We are convinced that the union among government, businessmen, young people, and civil society in general is fundamental to a construction of a fairer society. In the pandemics, we have achieved many results from this union. We have already benefited around 30,000 vulnerable people across the country through projects and donations of 1 million of basic food baskets to vulnerable and in needy communities that are sometimes difficult to access. The donation of basic emergency items have provided care to the most needy during the pandemics. All these resources would lose their value without the active presence of the civil society and the armed force that, through volunteer work, brought this aid to the most remote places in our country. The volunteer action should not be greater than the volunteer motivations which recognize the human value. Furthermore, the National Youth Secretariat and the Red Cross joined with a partnership that guaranteed the donation of 1 million individual protection masks, for the youth of Brazil. The material will be distributed to young people across the country. The union with 6,000 Red Cross volunteers in Brazil has the potential to generate a large impact of volunteer actions in the country. Young people will enroll into reforming the public schools with the support of local government that will distribute hygiene kits when the classes start next year. Brazil is working to develop a culture of volunteering in the country. Volunteer work can support communities in the development and contribute to crisis response more quickly. Volunteer work is a transforming action which is capable of meeting today's and the future's challenges. It implements public policies, adds to the development of society, and promotes more equality and dignity worldwide. Brazil believes in all potential of volunteer work. Volunteer experience can promote individual employability since it contributes to develop of skills such as being sociable and responsible. The individual also learns how to deal with unexpected situations, and he or she becomes able to take initiative and develop teamwork skills. As much as we want to make a positive impact in the communities in our countries and improve fostering social environment change, it's also our mission to create the right structure for volunteers to develop their skills and, as a result, improve their employability in the competitive marketplace on expansion. Volunteering can contribute the transformation of societies. The volunteer action should not be greater than the volunteer motivation that recognizes human value. So we welcome the adoption of the youth volunteer movement by taking part in the BRICS as volunteer council and by exchanging volunteer work in the framework of events in the BRICS area, as well as participating on the development of a set of measures to increase volunteer mobility in BRICS space. Also, as India and China, we think in a basic integrated volunteer platform that allows the development of a social curriculum for participants, as well as shared studies and dissemination of best practice in the countries by publicity. Thanks everyone for this opportunity.
Thank you. Many thanks for your presentation, for presenting on what volunteering in Brazil is, how it look like. So also thank you for your initiative and for your ideas to pay more attention to the exchange of experience exchange and to interacting a lot and to the dissemination of the best practices within the territory of these countries. So I think it is a very good idea that we will collect them all and then we will share it, because there are a lot of areas of volunteering you've mentioned previously. The ecological one, what I know that in some other countries they are like cultural one. I think it's also very mutual for all the countries of BRICS, communicating, interacting, and involving students and children. So I think it will be also a huge part of our work for the next year. And thank you very much for expressing your thoughts and ideas. And as well as other participants, you have a special opportunity to share your initiative so we can put it on to our declaration of the session. Maybe any ideas on you want to run any initiative. I think something wrong with the internet connection of our colleagues from Brazil. So, summing up our discussion for today, I'm very happy that we had such kind of huge communication and dialogue. So, if you want, maybe we will make a small discussion between the participants, and you have this unique opportunity to make a question to your colleagues from other parts of the planet. So please, any questions, any initiatives, maybe to understand more details how the volunteers during pandemic work in this or that country. So please, colleagues from Russia, South Africa, India, Brazil, China, please.
Yeah, we would be happy to hear your initiatives, maybe your thoughts after hearing how the volunteerism is in your countries. Maybe someone can help us to increase the volunteerism in your countries by giving us some initiatives. Maybe you can just share your experience, what you feel like you need in your countries.
So, can I share my
Of
suggestion
course,
now?
Yes, please.
So what we have planned is for the following the call actions of the earlier BRICS Youth Summit, especially the first and the second year. On the BRICS website, we would like to have a special column for the volunteerism work. So we under the society. So every year, the upcoming future year's resolution can be uploaded in it so that every countries can know about it. The youth around the BRICS country can know about it. And through this platform, the government of a member country could come together and represent the activities of our volunteers and also discuss about the natural the problems which has been happening and try to find out a solution for it. Like even this pandemic, we could come together and we could discuss among the other country people their solutions, because one country will have different opinion, every countries will have different opinions, so we can put together and make into one decision which would be helpful for every member country. So that is one of our point. So, and we will also be able to highlight the point immediate problems, like the elderly people's issues. We can talk about mental health illness is very important. So every countries, we should come together and we should conduct a program or an awareness about this mental health illness. So I think the BRICS youth volunteerism platform will be a very useful one for every country members, ministers and the volunteers to come and check and see how the people of other countries are doing, so that we could have a cross learn of what other countries are doing and adopt new ways and for handling the situation and learn from other countries too. So and we can even post the results of it in a unique subheading called Together in Us in this, so that we could see like whether the results have been worked out or not, so that the people will try to do something, because one solution cannot be a thing for every problem. So maybe we could come together, we could discuss about it, and if it is working out, we could definitely upload our results in this together in this subheading page, and so that the this will actually enable the BRICS state to represent the contribution in unity. This is one of our suggestions, ma'am, to create a platform for the volunteerism work, so that every members in country can come together and know about this and create a solution for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's an absolutely valuable idea. So maybe colleagues having experience in making such kind of platforms. So please share your ideas also, maybe any other initiatives.
Thank you, ma'am.
I also agree with India, and I think we have a volunteerism platform. We can learn from others, and we can see the problem in different ways and in different perspectives. So it is a very good solution from the volunteering right now. I think so.
Thank you very much. So pandemic developed our digital skills, and the platform is really a good idea to unite all of us. Thank you. Maybe colleagues from China or South Africa, any ideas and initiatives, your suggestions, please?
Okay, as South Africa, we are also in support of the meetings that can take place amongst the countries online. Amidst the pandemic, obviously, we cannot be together, but this does not stop us from ensuring that moreover, this council, the volunteer council, is emphasized and it takes place. In that we can have forums. We believe so much as South Africa in exchange programs, because we believe that we come from different cultures, and in coming from different cultures, it is important to share our different perspective and different ideas and how things are done. So that, as South Africans also, it will help us a lot in terms of learning from what other countries, are doing already with Justice Commission. I mean, with the presentation from the different countries, we have picked up that most of the activities that we've done during the COVID pandemic were similar, delivering food parcels, being caregivers to the elderly and so forth. But the challenges in delivering those programs might not be the same. So, and we would want to know more in terms of how the different countries dealt with such, challenges. And I think that kind of a forum will assist all of us and will definitely benefit. So by all means, let us make sure that we start that forum as soon as possible. It will assist, us in South Africa a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Leila, we have also one initiative from the participant from South Africa here.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon and good evening to everybody. I don't necessarily have a suggestion per se, except to say that all the points that have been presented have been very valid and very informative. I just like to say that, yes, in terms of creating the forum, we are very much in support of it, because when it comes to volunteerism, we believe it really provides a more involved role for civil society, such that it creates awareness also of the BRICS countries and their projects and activities, and not only at a high level but at a ground level as well, which can assist in further deepening the cooperation between the 5 countries, so that every resolution that is decided at the top is effectively transferred to the bottom level. Moreover, the challenges that are being faced at the ground level can be transferred upwards again at with a much better understanding and rate of that, because now when you have the people at the bottom having a hands-on participation, it allows us to implement projects that have a deeper effect and impact on the communities at large. So yes, that's what we would like to add with from the South African side.
Yes, thank you very much. This edition is very useful. Thank you. Maybe somebody else want to continue? Maybe someone from the speakers, or maybe someone from the participants? Okay, so if no one wants to continue, let's wait for our moderator. Okay, so thank you very much. Let's not wait for the moderator. So this session is about to end. Thank you very much for your efforts, for all your work that you put into it, and for all your initiatives and suggestions, and for all the speakers from the working group. We will be sending you the declaration, and we kindly ask you to give us the feedback with your initiatives as soon as possible so we can add it to the declaration which will be signed. Okay, we will be waiting. We will be sending you the form on your email, okay? So please make sure to receive it, and please, we kindly ask you to send us the feedback as soon as possible with your initiatives. If it's possible, dear speakers, you didn't leave yet, right? Okay, so if it's possible, we would be very glad if you can give us the feedback in like 2 hours. I know it's a short time, but we just need a feedback. Yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So our session ended. Yes, I'm very happy to see you all here, and I really hope that all the initiatives and all the ideas were very useful for you guys, and we will be putting it in the declaration. Thank you very much. Have a good day for someone. Have a good evening. Have a good night. Okay, bye.